radio. Doesn't cost you a dime. Gotta love it. And if you can't get to your radio when we're on, and if you're listening on Rooster Radio, Big Country 99, glad to have you on there. But if for whatever reason you can't get to radio, you can always use our listen line, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Doesn't cost you anything as long as you don't have you don't have to pay individually for long distance phone calls. You can listen to the entire program without any breaks. That phone number is 415-325-0725. 415-325-0725. And you can call in and you'll get that day's given show. And there is no charge for you. And how awesomely cool, there's no charge for us. Audio Now is the provider of that service. And if you have interest in that for your own radio program or your own blog or whatever, your own podcast, then I encourage you to give them a call or communicate with them via the web. It's at audionow.com. You know, the reality of where this bombshell is coming from on Barack Obama's ancestry and history has long been in contention. But, initially there was a flurry of questions about his birth certificate and legitimacy. And then the mainstream media got the message. Y'all better shut up about this. So they started calling them birthers. This was the idea of let's diminish the viewpoint of these people in the eyes of the public, so we make them look as if they have no integrity and no credibility. But the evidence is overwhelming, ladies and gentlemen, and if you haven't looked into it yourself, then you have done yourself a disservice. In fact, you've done a disservice for the people around you who, with all due respect, look at you as a leader of a circle of influence. Now, there's a guy who just came out yesterday. His name is Shrimpton. He's a British intelligence advisor. And he's coming out making some very bold statements. And he knew that this would make the media because he mentions it. And he's basically reporting that, first and foremost, Obama was born in Kenya, and they've got empirical proof about that, not only in the British intelligence files, but that there are British newspapers even that have that information. Furthermore, that the CIA has done a DNA test on his grandparents, and they cannot draw a correlation between Obama and the alleged parents of his mother. And that also raises the question that his mother was not pregnant in '61. He was born in 1960. And he states that clearly at that point in time, Kenya was under British intelligence, was under, well, I'm going to let you hear it for yourself. You don't need me to tell you. The truth is, the guy has got some very, very damning allegations here. He also says that Rudy Giuliani's people knew, and they sat on the intelligence, and that the Clintons know, including Hillary, and this is going back originally now to the original election. And that's where they came out with things like Bill Clinton saying, this guy should be carrying our bags, and he's not an American. In fact, Hillary was the one who started the whole birther controversy, if you recall. And if you don't, that's because the Ministry of Propaganda has kept it from you. Just stunning to me how, misleading all of this information is, or the lack thereof, because it's not getting out. And when it does get out, when it occasionally makes it out there into the public forum, it's dismissed as tinfoil hats, crackpots, disenfranchised, Obama haters, racists. Nothing of the kind. Why is it we cannot have a national legitimate conversation about things like a birth certificate, which has clearly been fraudulently manufactured and created? Why? It's inexcusable that the people who have concerns are delegitimized and they're made to look like, you know, crackpots and knuckleheads, and it's just it's shameful, frankly. I'll let you hear this report for yourself, because it's pretty darned damning. And well, you can hear it for yourself. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it.
Senator Barack Hussein Obama is about to come a cropper in the United States. So it's been a pretty good year. For those who don't know the problem with Obama, and by the time this is viewed on the internet, it will probably be all over the newspapers. He was.
By the way, that's where he's wrong. See, because this is now on the internet, and I did a search this morning, and I encourage you to do your own. Go out onto Google and put in, you know, British intelligence, CIA, DNA, Obama, Kenya, and just look at how much mainstream media pops up in the searches. None.
Born in Mombasa in Kenya. It's very interesting because that sits on British intelligence files. His father was close to the Mau Mau. He used to run guns and money into the Mau Mau. He was a link man between the Mau Mau and the German intelligence network in East Africa. And Obama was born in Mombasa in about 1960. His mother, we think, was one of Obama Sr.'s many mistresses. And the woman who is now dead, who is allegedly his mother, wasn't pregnant in July 1961, but Barack Hussein Obama claims to have been born in Honolulu on August 4th, 1961. Now, we have a doctor here, Owen, Dr. Lister would, I think, confirm. I'm not a medical man, but my understanding is that if a lady's giving birth in August, we like to see her pregnant in July.
Very interesting, isn't that? So basically, he's questioning the entire record of his birth, including whether or not his mother, Anne, is really his mother, based on the fact that she wasn't pregnant a month before his alleged birth.
Since it's been established that his alleged mother, wasn't pregnant in the July, his claimed birth on 4th August does seem to be coming under a certain degree of scrutiny. It's also nice to have a DNA relationship with your parents, and the DNA test that was done in respect of Barack Obama's claimed grandparents, I understand the CIA were unable to obtain a match. The CIA did it very well. I believe they did it at a fundraising dinner, and it's absolutely marvelous. You want to do a DNA test, nothing better than a glass of water. Because what you get with a glass of water, you get saliva for your DNA, and you've got fingerprints as well. It's an all-in-one, do-it-yourself, DIY DNA testing kit. And all the CIA did was slip in. You don't have to ask somebody to do a DNA test. They just took away a couple of glasses. Bag one for grandpa, bag one for grandpa, do a DNA test, no link, end of case. It's quite funny. Rudy Giuliani's people, this is an aside, but I think people are interested because Obama is making a lot of headway at the moment. Rudy Giuliani's people bought me lunch last year because they knew I knew, and Rudy's people were fascinated by this, and he decided to sit on it apparently and hold the intelligence back in the hope that he would be the Republican candidate, because he was then being talked about as the front runner, and then he could bounce it on the Democratic Party after the convention in August, which is absolutely crazy. I've been talking to Hillary Clinton's people who seem quite interested. So I don't think it'll be staying secret.
So essentially, the rule here is that not only did Rudy Giuliani know, but Hillary Clinton knew, and of course the whole premise behind this thing was that they would utilize it in their own campaigns, and his point was that Rudy Giuliani was at the time the front runner, and he didn't want to, reveal it because he was keeping it in his back pocket to use as the bombshell to win his own candidacy. So anyway, the point is, and by the way, just for the record, but Wikipedia scrubbed his file the other day, right after this hit. Isn't that interesting? The page has been deleted. Anyhow, this point is basically that we have a usurper in the office of President of the United States. What that tells us is that, and since so many people know it, including, by the way, the UK newspaper, the Daily Telegraph, he specifically mentions them. There's a number of bullet points, and I'll just run them down. There's 10 points. 1, he believes that given the above British intelligence of the year 1960, not 1961, and the place Kenya, not USA, of Obama's birth, Obama would soon be pressured into withdrawing from the presidential race. Now, this, you have to remember, this was recorded back in original. This discussion was originally recorded, I think, back in 2008. And second, Senator John Edwards also knew, because Shrimpton had briefed him. Former CIA director under Bill Clinton knew, and that included, and he doesn't name which one it was. He just said that the former CIA director under Bill Clinton, and there was actually 3 successive ones: James Woolsey, John Deutsch, and George Tenet. The Kenyan government knows, of course. By the way, in Kenya, they tout him as the president born there. I mean, they make no bones about it. They don't try to hide it. In fact, they proudly declare that the president of the United States is a Kenyan, born and raised in Kenya. The UK newspaper, the Daily Telegraph, knows and has empirical proof. The Honolulu Press is aware that Obama's birth certificate or birth records in Honolulu's Queens Medical Center are faked, and the Honolulu Advertiser knows. These are his claims now. Senator John McCain knows. I don't know how he says that. British intelligence knows because MI5 got the Nairobi Special Intelligence files when Kenya became an independent nation and left British rule. Kofi Annan, the Secretary General of the United Nations from 1997 to 2006, knows. Shrimpton also said something very strange, that Obama's half-sister is actually his full sister, and that the sister is missing. The only half-sister of Obama about whom we are told is Maya, or I think it's Maya or Maya. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce her name. Sotero, the daughter of Stanley Ann Dunham and her Indonesian husband, Lolo Sotero. So basically what it comes down to is that the knowledge is out there, the proof is empirical and undeniable. The individuals who know about it are not exposing it. And I mean, I guess at this stage in the game, and I'm only surmising this, but if Rudy Giuliani knew back in 2008, and it's ever uncovered that he knew and didn't expose it, if it's ever uncovered that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton knew and didn't expose it, holding it essentially in their pocket, and that at some point in time when Hillary, lost the or was approached, and we don't know. I mean, I've heard all kinds of things about why Hillary, did not expose it before the primary, including threats made to Bill and Chelsea Clinton. But and look, I don't want to get into a scenario of supposition and throwing, barbs and unknown tinfoils around. But I would like to stick with a statement from this guy that says, hey, these are things that are true. And if he's made the statement, then we can go with that statement he's made and say, okay, so now let's take that information and verify it. I mean, if in fact guys like Giuliani and Hillary and Bill knew, and it's ever exposed that they knew but didn't come forward and tell America, that's why they're going to continue to remain silent now? I don't know. I mean, that's my take on it. I mean, at this point, how could Rudy Giuliani come forward and say, yes, I knew about this in 2008 and I didn't say anything? He would completely destroy himself and any potential political career he may ever have, or any other career he may ever have. I mean, the guy would have to retire in shame. So the real question is, Why can we not have Congress evaluate and look at the true information that we actually do have? And there's plenty of it, folks, that says that Barack Obama's birth certificate was fraudulently made. Why can we, and it's, you know, why can we not get this before the Supreme Court for a full-blown hearing? I mean, the question is, if the guy has no authority to be in the seat, shouldn't Congress be looking at that instead of holding hearings about how to stop his unconstitutional overreach? Is that not the solution, sitting right in the palm of their hand, which they don't see? We're going to talk about that topic next, because in a House hearing, you've got repeatedly constitutional professors, 3 out of 4 of them Obama supporters, who are saying the president is out of control and you guys got to do something. Is Congress unwilling to look at it now because, again, it's the same problem that maybe Giuliani would have, that we can't talk about this because if we do and it comes out that we actually did know, we're ruined. You know, and at this stage in the game, there's so much dirt on so many people that we have to kind of determine and come to the conclusion that there are other forces at work here other than, you know, the normal ones that would jump up to explain the behavior. I mean, in other words, we can no longer look at the behavior and say that this is explainable by any rational standard. The behavior of Congress in failing to block and step up, the failure of Congress to do the duty and hold the desires of their constituents as their prime motivation is not explainable in any rational way, folks. I mean, you know, you've got Republicans now, and I'm talking about, now this is on the complete other side of the ideological fence, who are, you know, screaming bloody murder, but yet they give the guy a blank check for until March of 2015. They didn't just raise the limit, they completely blew the limit off. There's no limit. They didn't say you can borrow another $1 trillion or $900 billion or $1.3 trillion, Mr. President. They said, we're not going to even put a cap on this. We're just going to let you borrow until you feel you've accomplished whatever it is that you need to do. How do you explain that from a House that is very clearly a supermajority of Republicans? See, all I'm trying to say here is that there is enough information out there and enough evidence out there that something else is desperately wrong here. That this isn't all just tinfoil hats and politics and crazy kooks out there. You cannot justify the actions of this Congress, including specifically the Republicans, unless you begin to look at how they could have achieved or arrived at this point. There is other forces at work which are submerged beneath the surface. Are they threats? Are they intimidation? Are they payoffs? We don't know. But something is there, and that's undeniable. Why won't they hear the information and see and do forensic studies on the birth certificate issue? There's already, I mean, look, the guy who verified the forensic realities of the Obama birth certificate's fraudulent or fraud is an Obama supporter. He voted for him. And yet when he saw the birth certificate and he did his forensic study, and the guy is the leading expert on forged documents in the nation, he said, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is not real. You've got liberal professors telling us over and over and over, you've got to stop him. And Congress won't do anything. There's got to be more to the issue than just ineptitude, klutziness, Keystone coppery. Come on, folks. What's the real motivation here? What's the pressure being applied behind the scenes? We don't know. But one thing we can say is that irrespective of what else we look upon, we do know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this president has done things which these people who are currently in office, both Republican and Democrat, would not have accepted from any other president, including any previous one like Bush or Clinton for that matter. $6 trillion in debt under Obama. $6 trillion. And this is as of 2013. It's now up to $7 trillion. The passage of Obamacare, the nationalizing of 1/6 of our economy, and a federal mandate which is clearly unconstitutional. 2 presidential elections, which the level of voter fraud was very, very significant. Billions upon billions of taxpayer dollars squandered and wasted in crony capitalism projects. Unilateral refusal to follow the law. An attorney general who has been held in contempt criminally and civilly by Congress for hiding the truth from them. An EPA, by the way, a report just came out on the EPA that individuals within the EPA have obstructed a fraud investigation on a guy who was pretending to be a CIA agent and embezzled $900,000. One of these people actually physically threatened someone involved in the investigation. I mean, if one of your coworkers stole $900,000, why would you protect that person? I don't get it. Obstruction, lying, withholding evidence that they knew was documentary proof. What the heck is up with the EPA? How does that agency operate like this? And why do we allow it? There's more to all of this. That's what I'm trying to say. We're going to take a break. When we return, we're going to talk about this House hearing. We're going to give you the idea of what some of these constitutional professors are saying. Because, folks, we are allowing our nation to be stolen from us. And our Congress is complicit. And it's not, this isn't a question of whether or not they should or should know or can do something about it. When you have constitutional professors who are on the same ideological side of the fence, this is a desperate time. We are in a constitutional crisis, and no one can deny that. I don't know how we get around the problem here, because, frankly, our hands are all tied. It's in the hands of Congress. And based on all the information we have about Congress and their questionable antics and their questionable actions, we can't even be assured that they'll do something to protect and defend this Constitution and this nation as it was created. We're in big trouble, people. Big trouble. And the traditional defenders have turned into siding with the enemy. You're listening to America's Voice Now. I'd like to hear your feedback on any of these segments that I do. You can always email me at mike@americasvoicenow.org. I'd love to hear from you. It's mike@americasvoicenow.org. We'll be right back.